Hey guys, what's up? My name is Anthony, and welcome to my first episode of B&A Giants Talk. This is a bi-weekly probably series that I'm going to start doing where I just talk some Giants topics, whether it's the draft, whether it's how good we're playing, whether it's, whether we're going to win or lose this game tomorrow. That is for me. We talk about a bunch of Giants stuff, and it's going to be exciting as we go into the offseason. We're going to talk more about who we're going to pick. I'll go through some draft prospects for the Giants specifically, and then I'll make some draft content for other teams as well. But this is a series where we'll just do a little bit more of elongated Giants talk, and I hope you guys enjoy. But without further ado, let's get into my first Giants topic of the day, and let's get this whole thing started. Okay, so the first topic, I think I've reiterated my Pat Shurmur opinion, but I just want to say it again so you guys know right off the bat. I think Pat Shurmur is a great offensive coordinator like everyone else, but he's not a leader. I listen to him speak and I'm like, I wouldn't want to run through a wall for this guy. I don't. And, you could say that about Bill Belichick, but he's proven it year after year. Pat Shurmur started off with the Browns. And you could say he was a horrible team. The three quarterbacks that he had were awful. They were completely washed up. I think he had Jake Delhomme as a quarterback when he was 35 years old. He had some washed up, no good quarterbacks to coach. And Daniel Jones isn't washed up. So I think they should give him an extra year. But it's just his play clock management, running it on first down with Saquon Barkley. We'll get into what I think we should do with Saquon Barkley later because there's so many Giants topics. But, let's focus on the topic at hand. Pat Shurmur is a great X's and O's guy. I've seen him break down punt formations. This guy, and then that's how Darius Slayton made it all the way, and that's great. But that's what special teams coordinators should do. Head coaches need to do with everything else. They need to deal with the personnel, on the field, how to block. They need to deal with, personalities. They need to deal with everyone coming together and winning the message. He's not inspiring to me. The only awe-inspiring thing about this team is Daniel Jones. I've read, you read report after report that people think that Daniel Jones can end up like a superstar. And props to Pat Shurmur for developing him. But then again, he still has a lot of fumbling mistakes. He's still fumbling the ball a lot. And I think he's getting a little bit better, so that's why I'm going to say wait till next year. You can't all of a sudden start getting quarterbacks and getting new head coaches and a lot of turnover, new GMs, new everything. Because stable franchises have stable quarterbacks, have stable head coaches, and have stable management. You look at teams that don't have stable management, the Cleveland Browns. I can't. Then I start trying to name teams with bad management. But all of a sudden, I can't really think. The Washington Redskins, even the Rams as of late, they've had shaky management. They've had guys coming in and out, and they're not really sure what they're doing. The Jaguars, that type of thing. I mean, they haven't been horrible, but those are just some teams where it's just oh yeah, they're historically not that great. But then you have teams like the Patriots, the Steelers, who are on 2 head coaches in the last 20 years. The Giants. Now they would be on their 4th coach in 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is. That's a little bit too much turnover. You want to have a stable environment so you can grow up the guys and have a stable message in the locker room. The reason Tom Coughlin didn't work was because it was the same message over and over again. And even then, I think Tom Coughlin shouldn't have been fired. He just let Odell get too out of hand. That's one of the main reasons Tom Coughlin got fired. You have to stick with your head coach. You have to create that base of, fighting for a guy and a basic message of, let's win this thing. If guys having new coaches all the time, all this turnover, that's not a recipe for success. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks. You're seeing it with Baker Mayfield. You're seeing it with a little bit in Sam Darnold. Now he has stable guys, so it's great. But you see it with a lot of quarterbacks. You don't get stable management, then things start going awry. Josh Rosen, guys going in and out. Josh Rosen learned 3 different schemes in 2 years now. He learned his Arizona scheme, and then with Cliff Kingsbury, he came in. He was learning the air raid. Now he's learning the Miami scheme, whatever that may be. So you have to create some stability in this organization. I agree. Pat Shurmur is not a good coach, but it'll help in Daniel Jones' development for just 1 more year of success, and he's probably going to get fired next year no matter what. I think, because we're gonna end up 6-10. If we make the playoffs, maybe he doesn't get fired, and I see some kind of pushback like, yo, he's not the long-term future, and if he succeeds next year, then we keep him for one more year, and that would hurt our team. I understand that kind of argument. Pat Shurmur, he's like I said, with the Browns, he wasn't great, but it's the Browns. With the Vikings, he was great with Case Keenum, so now he has his guy. Let him live out with his guy, and I know that's what he wants everyone to think. It's a tough position. And who are you going to bring in? So that's what I want to talk about now. Who are you going to bring in for Pat Shurmur? Now, I have the top 3 list. So, number 3, well, let's start with number 1. Number 1 is Ron Rivera. He's a defensive-minded guy, and especially if we can get Chase Young / Andrew Thomas, that would be great. He's going to bring in some presence to this locker room. He's a great leader, and he has all the intangibles. I think you have to bring in 2 different guys. You have to bring in a defensive leader, a guy who's going to take no bullshit and create some discipline in this locker room, and who has a proven record of success. Even with Dave Gettleman, their current general manager now, I think they will work really well together. There was no sort of conflict between them two. It was between Dave Gettleman and management, because a lot of players started complaining, and the management didn't want it. So that's why Dave Gettleman ultimately got fired. That's what I think. Number 2 is Matt Rule. So he's a little bit shaky. I think Matt Rule is a pretty good offensive-minded coordinator from Baylor. We're going to start learning more information as we start listening to how he is. But he's 10-1, and he should have beat Oklahoma that one game. He blew that lead. That's not really a big sting in your resume. You lose to Oklahoma, and that's not really that big of a deal. I mean, but you're Baylor. They haven't been relevant since RG3. So Matt Rule is a smart guy. He's from, I believe, the New York area. I think he'll create a little bit of a presence. He's from college, so that's concerning. We have had Cliff Kingsbury now, who's come up for college, who seems pretty good. But then again, you also had Zach Taylor, who, well, he was under Sean McVay, but I think he coached with the air raid a little bit in college. So you haven't really had that much of a repertoire of college coaches being great. Nick Saban had his little stint in the NFL. Urban Meyer, he's rumored. Lincoln Riley. So this is like the next step of college coaches going up to the NFL, and this is the new wave. So the Giants can be early adopters. I'm not too sure, but John Mara is really, really concerned about the whole coaching situation. I think he's pressured to make a coaching change. Oh, he's not really pressured. He wants to make a coaching change because he sees all these other coaches. Mike Tomlin, who's doing it with a guy named Duck Hodges as quarterback. They're 6-5. He's like, why can't we win? We have all this talent. Why can't we win? I want to win. He's like, you know what? We had 2 Super Bowls in 5 years. It's like, oh, now we get to rest a little bit. But now it's just like, okay, it's been 3 years. We won the total 10 games. What are we doing? And now it's the accountability bowl. Who's staying and who's leaving? The whole management is starting to get really frustrated here. Why can't we win? And that's what happened with the 49ers last year. Even though they lost Jimmy Garoppolo, they had Nick Mullins. And then Nick Mullins came in, and he won 4 games, but he looked good, but they weren't winning games. And I was one of those skeptics. I'm like, I think they're going to play well this year. I had them at 9-7, but I'm like, do I trust their health on defense? Do I trust Kyle Shanahan? I mean, Nick Mullins looked great, but was that translating to wins? But all Jimmy G does is win. And I think Daniel Jones, he reminds me a lot of Jimmy Garoppolo, just with a little bit more mobility. Good-looking guy, is coachable, very coachable. And a lot of people just doubt it, and they look at him like, really? That's your quarterback? And then all he does is just produce. Now, with Jimmy G, he has had a team that's around him a lot. He had the Patriots. Now he has a good team with the 49ers. So now, he's winning. And even when he didn't have some teammates around him, he still was winning. But, yeah, I see a lot of comparisons between him and Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, I also see some comparisons to some other players I mentioned before in my, ceilings and floors. I think he reminds me a lot of Ryan Tannehill, too. They both were selected in, the top 10 in the draft. Not top 5, but not bottom tier either. They both have great accuracy, great mobility, and put in the right system. They have enough talent. They have the arm strength to succeed. Both similar builds. And, yeah, I just don't think that both of them are good enough to, be perennial MVP, all-stars or Pro Bowlers or MVPs. But, they're good enough. They'll carry your team over. They're Super Bowl caliber quarterbacks, and that's all you can ask for. That's really all you can ask for. Those Russell Wilsons are once in a generation. And Daniel Jones and Ryan Tannehill are definitely able to put your team, like any given year, you can go on a Super Bowl run. And that's what Eli Manning was. And Daniel Jones has mobility. He's going to start learning how to read defenses better. This is only his first year. And he's had to face defenses like the Patriots, like the Vikings. So he just needs to get better with zone defenses, being able to read those. And that just comes with experience. As long as Pat Shurmur can develop him, I think he's going to remain quarterback. And number 3, on my ideal coaches list would be a Mike McCarthy, a guy like that. Now this is my least likely option, because they're gonna want to coach, they're gonna want to get their own players and not surrender to Dave Gettleman. Like a Josh McDaniels, I didn't have him on my list. A Mike McCarthy guy will bring a presence to this locker room, kind of like a Ron Rivera, but he's a little bit more offensive minded. I think the Giants should lean more towards a defensive minded guy. Bring back that spirit of great defenses, of hustle, of strength, of using pure grit, and then the offense just does what it does. As long as Daniel Jones develops, we don't need to have a bunch of swing plays with whatever. There have been a lot of things coming out. There have been a lot of things about the John Mara being unhappy with the coaching and things like that. And now you're going to start to see coaches' names being circled out. Now these aren't just a spy coming into the organization and listening to the calls. No, this is done on purpose. Matt Rule and Jason Garrett are rumored to be head coaches. So I want to get that right off the bat. This is leaked information. This is what John Mara wants to have out. We're thinking about this. They sent out a little tribal in on Jason Garrett. That completely whiffed. I would say 90% of Giants fans were against it. Another 5% were iffy. I think only 1 or 2% of Giants fans would be like, yeah, I wouldn't mind Jason Garrett. Because he'd be the same thing as Pat Shurmur. The idea with Jason Garrett would be for a guy just to follow the rule of law. And plus, with Jason Garrett, he knows the Cowboys in and out, so he can help the Giants face the Cowboys, because the Giants haven't won since 2016 when we swept the Cowboys in both those games, and when the Cowboys went 13-3. But we shouldn't even won that last game because they benched Dak Prescott, I think, for the playoffs. I think that's what happened. Anyway, so Jason Garrett, my opinion about him is, that's basically it. He's not going to be amazing for us. And I know Dave Gettleman, we have a cap on how good the coach could be that we bring in. We can't bring a Josh McDaniels. We can't bring in a smart offensive genius, maybe under the Andy Reid coaching tree, whoever that may be. So it would have to be a guy who's just starting up. I think like a Matt Rule, who doesn't really have a lot of skin in the game, doesn't have that established moxie yet. So he's like, oh yeah, I'll listen to you for now, and then eventually I could work out. Matt Rule is the coach of Baylor. I could have done more research on him, but he's done a good job this year. They should have beat Oklahoma. They should be undefeated this year. It looks like he's doing a good job with under-average talent. You figure Texas Longhorns, Texas A&M, and a bunch of other teams in Texas or in that surrounding area in the South that could be getting good players. And Matt Rule, he's doing it right now. They're, I think, ranked 13th or 14th in the nation right now. So, and he would be looking to get a coaching job. So the Giants, my top candidates right now wouldn't be, I don't want a Mike McCarthy. I don't want a guy like that. I think with the Giants, you have to get a young, smart coach that's offensive minded with as your head coach, or you go defensive mind 100%. Or Ron Rivera, an established guy. So you either go an offensive genius or a established defensive veteran, not a James Bettcher. I think if we end up getting Chase Young, we have to fire James Bettcher. Even though we brought a lot of guys on the 3-4 into our system, I think Dalvin Tomlinson and Dexter Lawrence can evolve into a 4-3. They can be our Matthias Kiwanukas or Justin Tucks, just big guys up on the front. We have a lot of nose tackles right now. I think they can adjust. And I think they'll be fine. And plus Chase Young, I think he can work really well on a 4 technique. You have Marcus Golden as well. Alec Ogletree probably get rid of, and plus we have some good linebackers. Ryan Conley, maybe bring in a guy in free agency. But as far as that's a little bit off, veering off the topic. I think that we have a pretty good future if we can get a defensive-minded coach, and then maybe an offensive genius head coach, offensive coordinator rather. Get a guy who's just working up in the system, a little not too much of a Sean McVay, not too young, but a guy who's like a Kyle Shanahan. I know it's really picky. I know there aren't a lot of guys like this, and yeah, so you have to start looking for an offensive coach who's gonna spur the Giants, make it a little more exciting to be a Giants fan. And that's what I think about our head coaching situation. Let's move on to my next topic. So what I want to talk about next is the Giants' defensive line and how it can be special. Now, I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again because I really do believe it. The Giants, now looking back in 2007 to 2012, really, had a historically great defensive line. Everyone mentions it. When people compare the 49ers' defensive line, they say that's the Giants' defensive line. And that's what we need to return to. We have some developing defensive backs in secondary. We have DeAndre Baker, who I think needs to get his head on straight. I think he'll be able to. I lean towards, he's going to be able to. I think he lost some motivation and certain things. Once a team calls you out, this is his time. Then you also have Janoris Jenkins, who I think we get rid of. But we have good young talent. We have Jabril Peppers. We have Julian Love. Corey Ballantyne didn't look that good, but we have a bunch of young talent there. Sam Beal. I think we're going to be fine there. But our defensive line, I think we need to move back to a 4-3. Get rid of James Betcher. He's brought in, Marcus Golden's pretty good. He's also brought in David Mayo. He's brought in Antoine Bethea. It's like, come on, let's bring in guys who not just know the scheme. Let's bring in guys who are good. Like, let's bring in guys who are, cerebral and can just learn the system and just be good. Now, Chase Young, he's big. One of my concerns is, I'm not sure if a lot of people are talking about it that much, but a big guy like him, he was big his entire life. He was big when he was 7 years old. He was big when he was 13. Now he's big when he's 22 or 21, however old he is. And that's a little bit concerning to me because, before you were able to use your will force, unless you're J.J. Watt and a really powerful Myles Garrett, eventually you're not really going to be able to use your strength that much. And I think he's a little bit too tall. And I was wrong about Nick Bosa. I was wrong about Nick Bosa. So I may as well be wrong about Chase Young. They went to the same team, the same school. And my concern is more of Nick Bosa were his health issues. I still think that those are going to be a pretty big deal down the line. But Chase Young has been healthy. He's been pretty much eligible besides that stupid NCAA thing. He's going to be a great leader on this defense. And I think that we just need to bring in a plurality of talent there. Move back to a 4-3. Dexter Lawrence, Dalvin Tomlinson, up the middle with Leonard Williams as well. I think Leonard Williams can play a little bit of edge too. You need to get a bunch of guys like that. And I know it's easy to say, get just a bunch of great guys. Get a Fred Warner in your linebacking core. You just need to keep on getting guys. Dave Gettleman has shown that he can draft these guys. Ryan Conley, he looks like a leader on this defensive line. He looks like a guy who can just, like a Luke Kuechly almost, who could just call the plays. He's not the most physical. He's not the biggest guy, but he knows where to be, and he'll be a great kind of leader for this defense as well. He may be the defensive captain, but as far as the linebacking core too. You need to make a big splash in free agency. You need to get a Danny Trevathan. You need to get a Jadeveon Clowney. There are not a lot of guys like that, but you need to make a big splash. And we'll talk about more about who specifically they can get. I'm so excited to talk about potential Giants free agency because we have a whole lot of money to spend, and that's a beautiful thing. Once you make good draft picks, then all of a sudden you have a huge amount of money to spend, and then that's your window. We have our quarterback situation figured out. Just think about it. I was mulling over who I would vote for the Pro Bowl, which is going to be a different video soon. But I was like, okay, who's going to make the Pro Bowl in the AFC? Then I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, Deshaun Watson. If I had the AFC South, I'm like Jacoby Brissett, Nick Foles in that division. I'm like, yeah, there aren't too many quarterbacks. Ryan Tannehill, is he going to be a Pro Bowler? And then I was like, okay, let's go to the AFC West. Well, Patrick Mahomes, he was injured a little bit. He hasn't been, great, but he's pretty good. He'll get the nod. Phillip Rivers. Who are you going to put in? Joe Flacco, Brandon Allen, Derek Carr. Then I started looking at him, not too many teams can say that they figured out their quarterback situation. I said it before the season. I'm like, as long as you figure out your quarterback situation, every team feels like they have it sorted out now. But just wait a couple months. Injuries. Guys isn't playing that good. There's a lot of factors, and I remember in the beginning of the year, every team has their quarterback situation figured out. How is anybody going to draft Tua? Everyone's going to be good. Joe Burrow, all these quarterbacks coming out. Nobody's going to be looking. Yeah, just give it a couple months. And teams always, something happens. So, Giants have the quarterback situation figured out. They need to be historically great on that defensive line. Give Daniel Jones more times to, get some reps. Make him more time. Give him more time. Give him better field position to make some plays. Give him short fields, So, and that'll help out with Daniel Jones' development. Having a great defense helps your offense. So it gets the other's offense off the field, gives you more chances to score. And it's great. Obviously both sides help out each other. The offense, as long as they're moving the ball, the defense is going to be good. And that creates momentum. Just control the run game. And then have good enough cornerbacks to, be able to, tip some balls out of the way. You see now with the 49ers cornerbacks. It's that defensive line that's not giving the quarterback enough time. So the quarterback, the throw isn't completely accurate. And it gives enough time for, underwhelming cornerbacks like Richard Sherman to look great. And he's probably going to make a Pro Bowl this year. Keller Witherspoon. A bunch of guys in the defensive secondary are looking better now because, you know what? They're given more time or more leeway, I guess, to be able to make plays. Okay, so my final topic, I'm not sure if it's going to be my final topic. Yeah, let's just make it my final topic, is the Giants and Saquon Barkley, because that's obviously a big topic. He's picked with the number 2 pick. I made some videos, and it's going to keep on going back and forth for years and years. I mean, the narrative has changed completely just in the last couple weeks. Sam Darnold versus Saquon Barkley, and Saquon Barkley isn't playing well right now. Now, I have a couple reasons because of this. Now, I mentioned before Pat Shurmur. There's a point that I didn't really make. I really wish I could re-record that. But anyway, so I think Pat Shurmur will be more successful with a better offensive line. I think he'll be able to be more creative and do different things. Because now when we do special plays, it has to be once in a blue moon to completely shock the players. If you incorporate more of those special plays, those big yardage plays, like the 1-2, I think, was it Sterling Shepard last week? I think so. One of those just long plays where the offensive linemen are just out in the flat and just blocking. With we had a nice, I forget the left tackle's name, Nate Evans, or I forget his name, but we have, if we can block better, it'll allow Gettleman to be able to make more plays and be able to be more creative with his playmaking ability. So Pat Shurmur with his playmaking ability. So as long as you have that, then Saquon Barkley will be good. He's not we need a north and south runner. Like I was watching the Lions game, and they had this new guy, Scarborough, who was just plowing over guys like a LeGarrette Blount, just completely north and south runner. Saquon Barkley's an east-west runner. That means you need a great offensive line. A guy like Scarborough would be able to just plow through a couple of guys, and without any questions asked, he falls forward. Saquon Barkley falls backward. He tries to make a play, and I think I made a video about it, like his mental capacity and how he wanted to be a leader on the team. Now he could just play since he has Daniel Jones as the guy, but now that he has Daniel Jones as the guy, that his the signal caller, the guy behind center. He doesn't have to do a lot. Eli Manning needed Saquon Barkley out in the flat as a little dumping ground. Daniel Jones hasn't really been using that much. He's more of a down-the-field passer. He looks down the field. That's what's gotten him into some trouble. But Saquon Barkley, he just needs to learn how to be a little bit more of a north-to-south runner. But that's not who he is. So that means we need to get a guy like that. We need a Wayne Gallman. And he's not too much of a north-to-south runner. We need to get a big guy who we just put in. Like Brandon Jacobs and Ahmad Bradshaw. We need that dynamic. Go back to 2007. I talked about our defensive line. Go back to 2007. Get 2 great different running backs. We already have one. Get your next one. Jay Ajayi. He has had injury concerns. But get your Marshawn Lynch, who could just straight and just, break. Saquon Barkley can break tackles. But it's your north and south runner. And they'll complement each other real well. And it'll open up the playbook way more. It'll allow you to be able to not run on first downs a lot because you can get that extra 2-3 yards at the end. It'll allow you to make some special pass plays. That north and south, it'll open up so much potential for this team that like we saw happen with 2007 Giants. When you need those 2-3 yards and you can't rely on your offensive line, which we need to be able to rely on our offensive line, I guess, but we can't right now. So that's our current situation. So if we can't trust our offensive line, you need to get a guy who can just run north-south without any holes, just plow forward. And that's what we need. And they'll help out Saquon Barkley because he won't be out there every play. And yeah, so Saquon, I think we're good with him. You just, you can't force him to be something else. And that guy, one guy will just help so much with his ability to succeed in the NFL. And we need him to succeed. We drafted him number 2 overall. He better be a Hall of Famer. He's struggled a lot. We need him to stay healthy. I don't care about this whole Pat Shurmur thing with, benching Saquon Barkley. There's rumors about, he's not going to bench him. Okay, he has the whole offseason to recover, so it is what it is. He's not going to be playing in the Pro Bowl. He's not going to be doing a lot of things. So he's just give him more reps with Daniel Jones. He's already missed a lot of games, so just give him more reps at this point. With players like Jabril Peppers, yes, you need a bench. You need to set him down for his own sake. Because he can get injured again. Saquon Barkley's not that much about injury. It's about, getting more healthy. There's something about like pain and soreness. I think he's dealing with some soreness right now, and he doesn't really trust his knee, his leg a lot. So yeah, let's move on to my final Giants topic, which is about the Giants and their game against the Green Bay Packers. So they're currently favored. No, just kidding. They're not favored. They are 7-point underdogs against the Packers at home. So that means basically the Packers would be a 13-point favorite at home. The Packers are coming off a disgusting loss, and the Giants are coming off a disgusting loss as well. But nobody really blames them for losing to the Bears. No, they're trying out some new guys. Julian Love. They're trying out I think Corey Ballantyne. So that's good for them, and it gives them a little bit more juice on defense. Stop playing Antoine Bethea. And yeah, so the Packers are coming off an embarrassing loss. So are the Rams. And I think the Rams are going to come out flatter than the Green Bay Packers are, because the Rams had a soul-crushing loss. The Green Bay Packers are like, you know what? If we win this game and we win our next game, all of a sudden we're right back in the mix. And plus, the Minnesota Vikings are tied with them now. The Green Bay Packers own the tiebreak, but they're still tied with the Minnesota Vikings. So if the Minnesota Vikings win the next time, I think Minnesota will have the tiebreak, and they don't want that. This should be an easy slam dunk game for Green Bay. The Giants are going to be sneaky good. I think the Giants are going to come off to a pretty fast start. And Green Bay is going to wake up like, we thought we could just walk past them, but we need to start playing well. And the Green Bay Packers are going to pull away and win by more than 7. Now, a couple of things. The Giants haven't really had a strong home field advantage this year. Neither have the Packers. So I think this is really saying around like 11-point home favorite for the Green Bay Packers. And with this weather, I think it's probably going to be some precipitation here. Daniel Jones has proven he can be sort of good with this weather, but Golden Tate's going to be out probably. He's in concussion protocol. I'm not too sure about Sterling Shepard's health. The health of this team is in question. And the Packers, they're going to have the effort here. What's the motivation for the Giants? Well, we think Daniel Jones, I mentioned before, the team believes in Daniel Jones. We think he's going to be great. Pat Shurmur, he's like, oh, yeah, we're going to try to win every single game. Really? That's not really that motivating for me. Like, I'm playing, I'm like, yeah, sure, thanks for saying that, but, I mean, come on. Let's get Chase Young here. That's their motivation right now. It's one of their last home games, and you look down their schedule, and it's just like, okay, we play Miami, the Eagles twice, and the Redskins. So there's not much motivating the Giants right now. They're motivated to lose. They're motivated to not play well. And there's something to be said about that. I mean, I'm kind of like, we want to like, how often does a team just flip the switch? You could say the 49ers did that, but I don't think they really wanted to lose at any point. They just didn't have the personnel. And they were trying hard, like Miami. They were trying hard, they were just losing. And they were in those games. They realized that they had some talent. They realized that they had somewhat of a future, so they were playing hard. The Giants, you could say that, but now it's just like we're expecting to lose. And there's something to be said about that. But that's not really the topic of the discussion. Over-under is 44.5. I would probably take the over on that. The weather isn't going to be that good, but I think Green Bay is good for at least 30. So, yeah, I think Green Bay is going to absolutely torture secondary. We had some flashes, but we had way more flashes last year. It feels like we're almost taking steps backwards. We have the talent. We have You have Leonard Williams. We have Dexter Lawrence. We have Dalvin Tomlinson. It feels like those guys should be getting more pressure on the quarterback. But the thing is, with a 3-4, you can't really get that much pressure. It's a lot about run stopping, and we haven't even done run stopping that well. So that's why I really believe we should switch to a 4-3. Again, I'm getting off topic. I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to torch us. We don't have Eli Manning anymore. There's no motivating Eli Manning went into Lambeau 2 times. Eli Manning's going to be sitting on the sideline with a clipboard and telling Daniel Jones what to do. And we saw how well that worked against the Patriots. So the weather is going to be a big factor in this game. I don't think it really limits the scoring, if anything. I think it makes Daniel Jones good for a couple fumbles. Mike Penn knows how to, distract a learning quarterback. He did it with Mitch Trubisky. He did a little bit with Kirk Cousins. He knows how to rattle learning quarterbacks, and he struggled with quarterbacks that are good. He struggled with quarterbacks that can go over the top and destroy them with their arms. And Daniel Jones can do that, but this offensive line isn't good. Do I think that they're going to play well in just one game? Do I have enough evidence that the Giants are going to all of a sudden be have a great offensive line? No. And I have no reason to believe that the Giants are going to win this game. But, I think the Giants, if they do end up playing well, they're going to win this game. It's not going to be, the Green Bay Packers aren't going to win by 3. I have a feeling it's either going to be 24-23, which is still over, by the way, or it's going to be 30-14. Those are the 2 different ways I can see it. And obviously, I think more likely than not, the Giants are going to get blown out in this game. The Packers have a great run game in Aaron Jones, and we've been torched with the run game. Ezekiel Elliott has always torched us. They're similar in stature, similar in ability. And then Aaron Rodgers, he's going to take advantage of Julian Love. He's going to take advantage of Corey Ballantyne. He's going to take advantage of DeAndre Baker and the inexperience of this team. Do I think that all of a sudden in 2 weeks, DeAndre Baker completely learned the, defensive playbook? No, I don't believe that. Janoris Jenkins is going to do his thing. He's going to be against Davante Adams. I'm not sure if we're going to do more man or more zone. I'd lean towards, I think we should do more man-on-man, to be totally honest with you, because DeAndre Baker has been good with that. And if Janoris Jenkins can shut down Davante Adams, I think that they don't really have that many more weapons. And then you get your, Alec Ogletree to guard Jimmy Graham or something like that, and then they should be fine. And then on offense, switching sides of the ball, you have Golden Tate, who's going to be out. So Daniel Jones is going to have to make some magic. I think it's possible. I think if we put together a good game, this team has the chance. Any given Sunday, this team has a great chance to win. But they're not really motivated by anything. What are they motivated by? Getting the 2nd overall pick. That's what they're and seeing promise in Daniel Jones. As long as they see promise in Daniel Jones, they're not really going to be fighting for the win. And that's my opinion about it. As long as Daniel Jones had 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, he's on his way to break the rookie record. That's all we're looking forward to this season. That's any Giants fan. And do you think we're going to be motivated to beat Aaron Rodgers? What's going to happen if we beat Aaron Rodgers? It's great. They're 8-4 and we're 3-9. We're going completely 2 opposite directions as organizations, and we're motivated more by this offseason. Again, it feels like every season, let's see what we can do this offseason. A couple years ago, it's let's see whether we can make Eli Manning's career into something, and now it's just let's see if we can make Daniel Jones' career into something, and let's see what we can do with all this free cap money. There are a lot of free agents. We're going to continue to talk about them, but for now, hope you guys enjoy this video. This is the first edition of Giants Talk, the first official one. It's going to be going on podcast apps everywhere. So if you did enjoy it, make sure to give me a like rating. Let me know if you disagreed about anything I discussed in this video. Let me know also what you want me to discuss in the next Giants video. If there's any interesting prospects in the draft that we might get in the 2nd round or maybe in 1st round, or maybe we can get some free agents or something like that, definitely do let me know, and I'll talk to you guys in my next episode or whatever. I see you next. Bye, guys.